Hello, everyone. My name is Ian D. Walker, the creator of various tabletop games and the owner of the Obsidian Armory. I'm getting started here with showing you guys how I put together my paper minis here, and I'm going to go ahead and get started with the Gunslinger, which is this month's um, paper mini that is out right now. So if you guys want to get access to these minis, you can do so on the Patreon, patreon.com/the Obsidian Armory. You can get them here. So you can see I started with a X-Acto knife or just a regular uh, X-Acto blade type knife here. And I'm cutting around the edges of the mini that I want to put together. And this is very easy to do. You don't need very many tools to put them together. You honestly just need a knife, or you can use a straight edge or something like that, or a good pair of scissors to help you. It's good to get a ruler as well. And what I'm using in this video is super glue. And when we get to that part, I will explain to you why I went ahead and did super glue here. Okay. So what I've done here is on the sheet that you saw there has all the miniatures for the month there. You can print them out on some good cardstock, which is what I recommend. You want to go ahead and cut out all of the edges around the miniature, around the paper mini there. And then what you'll want to do is you'll do a score down the middle for the mini to separate each one. And you just go straight through the paper there. I have a metal ruler here that puts some weight on the paper, which is really nice here. So now the next thing that I'm doing is I went ahead and grabbing some of this Avery self-adhesive laminating sheets here. I'll put a link in the bio to where you can get that over on Amazon. And then I have this super glue that I use that I'm going to be using for the project. Now, again, as I mentioned before, I was going to tell you why I use super glue. And like I said, when I get to that part, I will go ahead and explain that to you. I had a lot of strips there. I make stickers. And so these stickers, I use this same laminate for my waterproof stickers. And so I had a lot of extra cut pieces there, and I utilized those pieces to make that. So I have no waste whatsoever. So that's what I'm doing. So what I'm doing now is I'm measuring the plastic here to go all along the mini to make the whole thing waterproof, sturdy. This allows the minis to, not get damaged in case you drop them in water or whatever the case may be. So I'm cutting them each one down to size, and then I'm going in and cutting, or I'm sorry, as you can see there, uh, I'm making it the same size as the paper mini here. And now I'm taking off the plastic, the sticky adhesive part at the corner. And what I do is I fold down the back. This makes it a little bit easier. So you fold down the back, okay? And once you fold that down, then you line up the paper mini with the bottom in that black area so that you'll have it evenly positioned on there. And then you'll seal it on there like so. And then you'll pull that back part just a little bit, and I run my fingers, my thumb, all the way up that miniature, thus sealing it. And then I place it down. I press it a few times here so that it's, adheres nicely. And then I place it the opposite way, and I place it down. And then I take my X-Acto knife again, and then I'm going to start cutting off those edges, taking off that excess sticker paper. And I go along the edge of the paper mini, being careful not to cut into the paper part of the mini itself. I didn't get and cut all the way through it, so I had to tear some of that off. But you take that, set that over to the side, flip it over, and then you work on taking off the tape on the other side here, as you're seeing me do here. and just do it nice and easy along the edges there. Okay, and there that is. And now you see it's nicely laminated, protected, and so you can place these anywhere. And also when you place the plastic on there, it makes the colors pop nicely as well. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to score the back of the paper mini, and it's a little hard to see through with the mat that I have. So what I did was I took the backing of the paper and placed it there so that I could see the black mark through the paper there, as you can see as I was pointing out. And I just make a soft scoring mark, tracing down that black line. Don't go all the way through. I just score just enough to where there's a cut there as a guide for me to be able to fold it. You see that? And it folds it just enough to where it doesn't go through the plastic, but it's just enough to fold that nicely all the way down. And now with the super glue, I'm going to take my super glue here. I screw on the cap. With the super glue here, I got a ton of they're little tiny tubes of the super glue. And again, I'll leave the Amazon link for that so that you guys can pick that up for yourself. But what this does is I make a square, like a square shape of the paper miniature, as you see there, nice and easy. And it's important to do the X in the middle, as you see me doing here. And then you press it down, okay? Now, when you're pressing it down, that chemical reaction is going to make that paper feel a little hot, and that's the chemical reaction happening. So if you feel the paper heating up, don't trip out, but just press it down as you see me doing here. And now what's happening here is now I'm folding out lining up the black tabs and creasing those down on each side. Okay. And then there it is. Now, if you want to leave your paper mini like that, you totally can. You see the front and the back there. But what I like to do is I like to go ahead and cut out along the edge of the paper mini. So you can fold down the paper, that ending edge, cut out the edges of that there to where you can make it to where it's like, when you place it on the table, it's in the square and the hexes, whatever type of gaming table you have. And you could place it down like that if you want to. And then what I like to do is I like to take the scissors and go around the miniature, around the shape of the miniature. And when you're doing this, it's really important that you make sure the crease is lined up properly, because the back part, you want to make sure that those cuts aren't going into the back part as well on both sides. You want to make sure that that's even. Now, you don't have to do as much cutting as I'm doing here. I'm doing more cutting because there's a shape that I'm looking for that I want it to have. So that's what I'm doing. But you could just do it in any shape you want, keeping it close to the figure as you want there. And then I flip it over, and then cutting from the other direction because it's a little bit easier, I go ahead and make the cut there. And then I continue forward with the cuts around there, like so. And now what this doing is with the super glue there, instead of doing, because a lot of tutorials will have you do it with like a glue stick, which you definitely can do, but I still feel like it leaves the paper a little weak. What happens when you use super glue, it makes the plastic, it kind of turns your cardstock into almost like a very hard plastic card. So it's very, very durable. It's almost as if it's made from, a tough, sturdy plastic. Almost. That's the feel that you get when you use super glue instead of using a glue stick. So if you want real durability and something that'll last, I highly recommend using super glue for your project when you're putting together your minis, especially for durability. I got the flaps there down at the bottom because you could fold those down. And this is the end result. We're just doing a height comparison with a regular miniature in comparison to the paper mini there. And you see it's about the same size. So it's going to be perfect for your table. And then I also have these little plastic tokens as well that I made as well using the same exact process. And you can use that. They're double-sided. And you can use that as well for any other games that you might have or anything like that. So hope you enjoy the video.